Yes,
Okay,
amazing. Okay,
working.
fantastic. Okay, so good day, everybody, and wherever you are, and thank you for joining us. My name is Giuseppe Ruggeri. I'm the Managing Director of International Testing and Training Services, otherwise known as ITTS. We have been providing awarding bodies, test providers, and universities with assessment services since 2009, including test center networks and remote proctoring or invigilation, secret shops, auditing, and more recently, education technology, remote proctoring platform, and also exam authoring and delivery platform. But more recently, we have been delivering in our Manchester and London test centers the CELPIP exam. So correct me if I'm wrong, Anna, the Canadian English Language Proficiency Index program.
Program.
So let's stick with CELPIP. And CELPIP is the right pronunciation.
That's correct.
Correct, right. And we thought of having this webinar because we have noticed a considerable growing interest on the part of test takers. So we wanted to interview the expert who we have in front of here now, Anna Baxter, the Senior Business Development Manager at Prometric Stroke CELPIP. So welcome, Anna, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. Okay, so shall I just launch straight into the questions without further ado?
Sure, if you like. Well, I just wanted to let people know that I do work mainly with the CELPIP test. So I have the privilege of working with candidates, partners around the world, like yourself here, and just trying to help people understand basically what CELPIP is and to help them in their goals or in their future pathways. So yes, I'd be happy
Uh,
to start with the questions.
right, but you know your background is 30 years at least of experience in the EFL ESL world.
Well, yes,
Uh,
my background is in teaching, so I studied linguistics, so that's sort of my passion is always to be around students teaching, but then I somehow started working with instructors, I did more teacher training. I was an academic uh, coordinator at some point, and then I got into more of the testing. So I've been doing that for almost 15 years now. So it's been going extremely well. And usually, if people ask me about myself, I usually say that more I'm a second generation immigrant. So my parents came to Canada from Ecuador, and they saw firsthand all the challenges and things that they had to experience firsthand. And I felt that, that type of experience is the reason why I'm so passionate about working with people today, because I feel that language testing is not just a test to pass, but it's more helping people with their next steps in their future.
Absolutely. So today is really an opportunity to understand the CELPIP and
That's right.
why it's growing internationally and how people can take advantage of it. Okay, so
That's right.
CELPIP is often associated with Canada. So you think of CELPIP, you think of Canada. Could you briefly explain how the test was designed and why it's become such a trusted benchmark for immigration and real world proficiency?
Okay, well, there's a lot in this question. So many people actually don't know that this was developed initially from Paragon Testing Enterprises. So it's a subsidiary of the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And the goal here was to create a test that measures how people use the English language in real life. So it's not just, for example, academic writing. So you're not focusing on essays or lectures. So the tasks are pretty much based on everyday situations, like having conversations, understanding workplace discussions, writing emails, uh, solving common problems. So that's sort of what this test is mainly about. And then in 2021, Paragon was acquired by Prometric. And Prometric is one of the world's leading assessment providers. And that was an exciting milestone for us because it basically combined CELPIP's expertise in English language assessment with Prometric's global testing network. So now we have more test centers globally because of this partnership now that we have. And Prometric, basically, they're focused on network technology, operational experience. And so it really helps support the test's continued growth internationally.
Mhm.
And now we are also accepted for immigration purposes. So it's accepted by Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada for permanent residency, for citizenship applications. And it's also recognized now by the Australian Department of Home Affairs for a range of visa categories. And it's increasingly being adopted by professional organizations. And I do have a list I can show you a little bit later on. We have educational institutions that accept it, employers as well. And so countries are looking more for the secure, modern, and practical English language assessments. And so we do see a lot of interest in Canada and around the world.
And focusing on the actual test itself, how would you say CELPIP distinguishes itself from other well-known tests on the market?
That's $1 million question because a lot of people are always asking that question, like, how is it
Mm.
different from other tests? So one thing that comes to mind is that CELPIP, first of all, is computer based. So it's completely computer based. So you can complete the test, including the speaking section on the computer. So
Right.
there's no face-to-face interview, and you don't have to come back at another time to finish another section. And for many candidates, that makes the experience a little bit more comfortable, maybe less stressful because you're not speaking to the examiner directly, which a lot of times people can get maybe a little bit pressured and stressed out because they're speaking to that person. But nowadays, because we use technology so much, so if we're on our phones all the time, on our tablets or on the computer, we are a bit more comfortable using that type of technology. So the experience is a bit better that way. It also has in the test, you have a timer and a spell check. And that's something that the spell check doesn't really exist in other tests. So this is a very helpful tool because you use it all the time. And so when you're writing, sometimes you might misspell a word because you're typing quickly and it'll be underlined in red. And then you can just simply select from a list of suggestions to help you. And that way, candidates can focus more on the communication, communicating basically their ideas, and rather than just worrying about spelling something incorrectly. And also, this English proficiency test, what really I think sets it apart is that it's more modern, it's practical, it's focused on measuring the communication skills people actually use every day. And it was based on that since it was designed. And so we want to make sure that, when people are taking these tests, it's something that is relatable to them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because my next question regarded CELPIP being associated very much with real life English, and I was going to ask you what you meant by that exactly. And now you just said that it's the kind of English that people use on a daily basis. But can you expand on that a little bit more? So we have a better idea of the content of the exam itself.
Absolutely. Well, as I mentioned, it is based on everyday situations. So if we're talking to coworkers, responding to emails, asking for directions, making appointments, speaking with managers, like all that is very similar to what you will see on the test. And basically, it does measure everyday situations, what people would encounter either in their work or in their community. But it's important because employers and governments aren't just looking for somebody who knows English grammar. They want somebody who can communicate effectively in real life situations. And they can understand instruction, solve problems, interact confidently with others. And that what really makes CELPIP such a practical assessment of English proficiency.
Right. And I guess this is one of the very strong reasons why you're beginning to see considerable interest outside of Canada as well. For example, Australia. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So what happens is that like organizations around the world, basically they're asking, does this test measure the English skills people actually need? So governments, as you were mentioning, and institutions, they want an assessment that's secure, that's reliable, that reflects real life world communications. And that's exactly what CELPIP was designed to do. So now we're seeing a recognition growth. So it's accepted, yes, by the Australian Department of Home Affairs and for a range of visa categories. And there are other countries as well that are, or organizations in other countries that are looking for more modern computer-based assessments. And it's exactly why this test is unique. And it's not just unique to Canada, but it is now global. And we do have various accepting institutions, which I'm going to share with you in just a moment because I'm going to be just showing you a few of the slides that I do have. But um, if we're talking about acceptance, but not just in Australia, but acceptance in general, like what are the purposes? What are the uses for that? I mean, it's not just for immigration, although that's the main purpose of using this test, but it grows beyond that. And so it can be used for professional regulatory bodies, educational institutions, and employers. And at the end of the day, it's the same question. Can this person communicate effectively in English?
Right. And I think you just, in terms of usage, because my next question was outside of immigration, where are you seeing CELPIP being used today? And you've just answered that question.
Yeah, and I
So,
can actually show you. Let me just very quickly, if
absolutely.
you can, let me know if you can see my screen. So I'm going to just go down to the next slide here. Okay. So these are some of the examples that we were just talking about. So if we're thinking about Canadian immigration pathways, these are some of the uses for the test. So, and we're also using it for post-graduation work permit as well. So if you're doing your master's degree, you can apply for the PGWP, which is the post-graduation work permit. So there's other uses for that. And then for Australia, the different types of visa applications. So you could see a list there. And also for the accepting regulatory bodies for licensing. And these are just some exceptions. Obviously, there's a whole list, and not just in Canada, but in Australia as well. And if it's for, well, this is the actual link so people can see. So if they want to know what other purposes they can use CELPIP for, they can go directly to the core users in celpip.ca and you can find out what other purposes there are. And you can see universities, colleges, and vocational programs are listed here. So an example for higher education or for post-secondary is like Lambton College in Canada. They accepted for uh, getting into the universities. And so now we're starting to get much more recognitions, and there's over, I think, 70 institutions now that do accept CELPIP. And so we are gaining more traction, and people are seeing the value of this test because we want to make sure people can communicate. Even if you're at a university level, you have to talk to your professors, you have to be able to follow instructions, to understand what people are saying. So it's not just because you're using academic vocabulary words, but it's can you use this in everyday situations, whether it's at the university level or whether it's at work or at home or outside. So
I see. So obviously a valid alternative to other tests on the market. But in terms of, let's say, user friendliness, i.e., where you take it, how you can take it, is it also remote? What about turnaround of scores? this kind of thing. Could you give us a little bit of information on that front?
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest advantages is that it was designed with candidates in mind. And so the test does take about 2.5 hours. I'm going to actually show this on the screen. And basically, you go at your own pace. So every section, it will have a digital timer, and they'll give you the amount of time that you have to complete the tasks in each section. But the wonderful thing is that everyone, I mean, you have to go to a test center. So you do start at the same time. There will be other people in the room, but you don't have to wait till they complete a specific section uh, so that you can go on to the next section. So if you finish, for example, the reading section faster, you respond to the questions, you don't need to wait for other people to finish to go on to the next section. So you can continue. And the great thing about this is that even though technically the test is like 2 hours and 50 minutes, but many times people finish the test in 2 to 2.5 hours, and some people even less. So we have seen people that finish even in 1.5 hours and they're done. So it's great that, if you have stronger um, skills in certain areas, you can just continue and you don't need to wait for others to finish. And I think another advantage is the turnaround time that you were mentioning. Results are typically available between 2 to 4 business days, which is especially helpful for people who are working towards their immigration application, job opportunities, or another deadline that they might have. And so we try to make sure that they do receive their test results as quickly as possible.
I see. And
And
sorry, you were going to say?
no, no, go ahead.
I was going to ask about the speaking, how that's delivered, the format of the speaking module.
So the speaking is actually being recorded. And so you do have time to prepare. So they'll give you some time to prepare. They'll have a question. You will have time to prepare, and then it will be recorded. But after that, there will be a human rater that will give the evaluation. So, and everything is done in-house in Canada. So all the scoring, the results, everything is done here. And then uh, given to the candidates their score report. And again, like as I mentioned, because the speaking test is more reflected on what people are doing today because of the technology that we're using, um, it does put less stress on the candidate when they're taking the test, because sometimes when you're talking to the examiner, they might have an accent that they don't understand, or they might do a gesture that might be misinterpreted. So we want to eliminate all those biases, and we want to make sure that each person has the same opportunity. So, and that's the reason why it is done directly on the computer. And the great thing is you don't have to come back another time or schedule another appointment for the speaking section. So people are just doing the entire test in one sitting.
I see. I guess that for any candidate considering taking the CELPIP, they can come to your website and see which universities accept the CELPIP,
Absolutely.
correct?
Yeah.
And then I guess you have, being part of Prometric, you have very broad coverage globally in terms of test centers. What kind of coverage do you have currently
Well, we
globally?
have over 200 test centers globally, and that is expanding. Like I always feel that weekly we open up a new test center, so we're expanding exponentially. I feel that there's a lot of opportunities, and we want to make sure that there is availability in certain countries where there's a lot of demand. And so even like yourself, you have two test centers, and we have six total for the moment in the UK. Well, in Scotland, we have also another one, so it'd be seven in total in the UK. And we will be continuing to expand because we do know that there is a lot of demand, and not just in one region or in one city, but we want to make sure that there are options in other cities as well.
Right. And the cost of the test, I mean, is that standard globally?
Now, the cost of the test, if you're taking the test in Canada, it is standard. So it doesn't matter what city you're taking it, what province you're taking it, the test will be the same. So currently it's 295 Canadian plus
Uh-huh.
tax. And so that you can take it anywhere and the cost will be the same. Now, when it comes to different countries, then it's regional, depending on the country itself and what the value is. And so they'll make sure that it's reasonable. And usually the CELPIP test will be cheaper than other competitors' tests. And so we just want to make sure that we give opportunities to people to take this test. And you can see the amount that it is in the UK. So
Yeah.
that would be 190 pounds. And so we want to make sure that we do give that opportunity. Now, there is something different on this screen, which you could see it says CELPIP General, which is the full test, and that's what we've been talking about. But we do have a unique opportunity in Canada to take the CELPIP LS. Now, the LS is only for citizenship in Canada, and it's only offered in Canada. And that's why the price is still there in Canadian dollars. So it's 195. But it's called LS because it's only the listening and the speaking section, which is the requirement for citizenship in Canada. So they would be required just to take the listening and the speaking, although you can still take the full test. But if it's just for a specific purpose, then they can also take the general LS, which is an option there.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, so just to confirm how people register, they come to your website, specifically the CELPIP website, or also the Prometric website.
It would be specifically the CELPIP website. So you would go directly to celpip.ca, which I'm going to just quickly
Yeah.
show you here. So the website is at the top at celpip.ca. And right on the main page, you can register. So you can pick the dates, you pick the country, pick the city. You don't even have to actually select the date. You can just pick the city, the country, and then just press enter, and then you can see all the different dates, the different locations that are available if you're not sure which location we are testing in. But it gives you, it's pretty user friendly. So it gives you all the information that you need. And once you're ready to register, you just click register. And then you will provide all your contact information, make sure you have the proper ID. I think that's probably one of the most important things is your ID that you do need to have on the test date, and it has to be a valid ID. So if you're using your passport, for example, it could be an international passport as well, so that that is accepted, but making sure that it is valid on when you're registering and on the test date, you still have your original valid passport. And in the case if you are renewing your passport, like I'm doing that right now myself, in the case that you are renewing your passport, please make sure to let us know ahead of time or send us an email. And you have the email there, info@celpip.ca as well. Send us an email saying you've changed it. You give us your new information, bring both passports just in case. But you need to let us know ahead of time because if you change it and then you come with a different passport, a different number, that will also cause issues. So make sure to do everything in advance.
Okay, very clear. Thank you. So, Anna, considering your background, there's one question I have to ask you, which is, how do you see the role of English language testing evolving? So I'm sure you're going to talk about AI. And where do you think CELPIP fits into that future?
Well, I think English testing is becoming much more practical. I think this is something that people see now the importance of it because English is used globally. And it's not just in English speaking countries, but it's in many other countries where English is so important, either for jobs, for studies, because maybe even there could be some pathways where they have English spoken at the university level. So there's quite a bit of, of use for that. And um, again, I mean, I keep saying that it is based on more real life, but yes, AI is, I think, one of the biggest things nowadays because we're always talking about AI, and I think that that's something that now is the norm. But we are now looking slowly into even hybrid testing to see how that works, and we're always trying to expand. I think that's one of the things that is important, but we still feel that human raters are very much important in analyzing because you still need that human component, especially for the speaking and the writing sections. I mean, it is possible still to use AI, but we also want to make sure that, we're using both. So we're starting to do a little bit of the hybrid testing as well, but we aren't fully committed yet to making it completely AI digital, but that's sort of where we're also going towards. So we're still trying to update our technology, even the security. I mean, we're always on top of everything. We want to make sure that everything is reliable, it's secure. So we're trying to do our best to make sure that that always happens and that people are getting the right testing, the right scores, and making sure that it's fair for them as well.
Right. And in terms of increasing accessibility, have you considered making it accessible remotely?
That's a very good question. I think for now, because many of the institutions still do require the test to be at a test center, that is what we are offering. But if it were the case where now they are accepting um, CELPIP online, for example, then we are prepared for that as well. And in the case of where there isn't testing yet being done, that's where we're working on. So we want to make sure that there is that accessibility, and that is why we continue to increase all these test centers because we want to make sure that they have that opportunity to take these tests.
Okay, great. So look, I'm sure there are areas which I haven't covered. I tried to cover as much as I could, but at this point, I'm sure there are other people who have questions. So if anybody's got any questions, I think we have another 10 minutes or so. So over to the attendees.
And at the same time, while we're waiting for the questions to pop up, we also have, I mean, the test centers that you do offer. I have the addresses here. So if anybody's interested in taking the test with you, there are two locations, as you mentioned, London and Manchester. So the information is there. And I think sometimes people are always asking as well to compare the scoring system because the CELPIP test is actually over 12. So as you can see here on the screen, the CELPIP level is over 12. And initially, because it was created for Canada, we are aligned with the CLB levels in Canada. So CLB is a Canadian language benchmark. And we're also now aligned with CFR, which is very important for us, which is also why now we're accepted in Australia. So uh, that's also a plus for us. So if people need to know what their CFR level is, they can also compare it to the CELPIP levels and the DHA for Australia, the levels that they're accepting, and that's the information that is there as well. And I figured, I might as well add that in because I think it might be a question people are asking, like, well, how does that compare to other tests? And so it's there for you to see.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Yes. Can you see it, Anna?
Let's see. I say we have a question. Okay, so can a test center host CELPIP without having Prometric? Well, because we are part of Prometric now, if people are interested in becoming a test center, it does need to go through the Prometric because we all also now follow the same protocol as Prometric. So it's not a separate entity. We are now part of Prometric. And so we want to make sure that we're following the same protocols. And they're on the website, on the Prometric website. So if you go to prometric.com, there is a link that says become a test center and you can apply there. So if you're interested in
I just don't
becoming a
know.
test center.
our contract for the two test centers is not with CELPIP, but with Prometric. So
That's
from
right.
that, we're a Prometric test center.
Which actually gives a lot of opportunities because per metric they offer various assessment tests, and it's great to have all these options instead of just having one test and relying on one test.
I think we have a
So I have
how
one here.
equivalent. Okay, you did that one.
Yes, to CFR. And I did, I mean, I
Okay.
can always share the screen again, but we do have that on our website as well to see the equivalents of all the different tests because it is important because people are always asking, well, what's the same score as, or how can we evaluate the scores? And so we make sure to have that available on our website on celpip.ca or celpip.com as well.
Any other questions?
And I think you had a few questions for me as well. Some
Well, you covered the quickfire ones. I think you covered a lot of them. What is the cost? Because I said there were going to be some quickfire
Yeah.
questions. Okay,
Well,
so how does
actually,
this
I
begin?
can think of one of them right now,
Mhm.
which is preparation. I mean, a lot of people are asking how they can prepare for these tests. And one of the great things is if you go to our website, we do have two free practice tests or two free mock tests. They're complete tests that you can do, and there is an evaluation for the listening and reading section. So if you want to at least have an idea how it is or compare it to other tests, other options, then I would recommend to take the test to see how it is and how you do. And we also have webinars. We have weekly webinars. They're almost like courses that we offer. It's about 2 hours each week, and they focus on one section. So it could be listening one week, writing another week, speaking a different week. So then you can also take these live sessions. You can ask questions to the instructor, and so there's quite a bit of information there. And we do have a lot of free resources available. So we want to make sure that we're helping people. And specifically today and tomorrow, we have 50% off all the study products that are the paid products. So if you go online, celpip.ca, there's a section that says study. And I think I can reshare this. So I'll give you the actual information here. So I'm just going to quickly go to it right here where it says bookstore website. It's celpip.ca study materials. You can find all the information there. Let me just, I don't think I shared it. I thought I did. Sorry. I'm going to quickly share that with you. Here we go. There it is. Okay. So just so that you can get that information, it is 50% off all study products only today and tomorrow. So please make sure to take advantage if you want to purchase the resources that are available. So this deal doesn't happen all the time. So I thought it would be a great thing to mention today.
Okay. Uh, I do have a question. Let's imagine we have some universities present right now, and if they are interested in making the CELPIP, let's say, part of their admission process, so they want to sort of formally adopt the CELPIP. Um, what do they need to do in order to get direct score reporting? Is that
So
possible?
absolutely. That's actually a really great question. I'm going to share my screen again so you could see where that is. So there is a section here where it says CELPIP for stakeholders, and you will go directly to score users. And this is where we have the accepting institutions that would like to be able to see all the scores. And so there is a way for you to become a score user, and you can apply to become a score user. And this is for any of the institutions. And we're always happy to have people apply to this. And we're getting many now, especially from Australia, because we are accepted in Australia. There's a lot of institutions that have reached out and now they have become score users. And of course, there is a list um, where So where it says take CELPIP, I would go to who accepts CELPIP. And then we have that list that I was showing you earlier. So for refugees, so here we have like organizations. If you want the universities, colleges, you can see all the different organizations that do accept it, as well as in Australia. They'll give you information of who is accepting, but it is starting to grow. So you will see quite a few organizations now accepting them, especially for professional designations for licensing. You'll see a list of that.
Mhm. So, do you currently have any universities in Europe that accept the CELPIP?
Not just yet, but we are working on that. So uh, we have a team that is starting to now have these discussions with different institutions about that. So hopefully we will be seeing something very soon.
Okay, I think I saw another question, but it's one you may have answered already. Is CELPIP used for, okay, university admissions?
It
Um,
is depending on the institution, but you do need to check the list because currently we're starting to get acceptance. And so we don't want to say, yes, it's accepted in all university colleges because at the moment we're still developing on that. So it's in the process. But currently you would need to see. But if it's for post-graduation work permits, definitely. So after the master's program, you can apply for the post-graduation work permit, and CELPIP is definitely accepted. So it doesn't matter which university you're in. But for specifically university applications or college applications, you would need to check our website for the list to see who's accepting. And it might be just certain pathway programs as well. So you would have to check that out.
okay,
Right.
he said thank you.
You're welcome. That's great. No, I mean, it's so important. I mean, these type of tests, and they do matter. I mean, I feel like they're important for many reasons, for many purposes, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they're well prepared for these tests. And I think one of the things that I can say is that anytime you're thinking about taking these tests or you know it's a requirement, start practicing now. I mean, don't wait last minute because many times people are taking the test for next week, but they haven't studied. You have to at least review it. You could even be a native English speaker, and I still would recommend the same thing, like review it ahead of time. Make sure you know what type of questions are being asked. You don't want to be surprised when you get there and the format is not what you expected or the type of questions aren't what you expected. So it's always best to at least review, make sure that you understand what these tests are. So it's like driving a car. I mean, if you're driving here in Canada and you're driving in the UK, I'm sure the rules are different. We drive on different sides too. So we want to make sure that, yes, you might be an expert driver, but then if you're going to a different country, you have to understand what the rules are there. And so we want to make sure that doing these tests that you are fully prepared for them.
That raises a very important point in the sense that, in my experience, certain language tests require more preparation than others. You know, in terms of strategies, skills,
Right.
cracking the system, and so on. So in the end, it's not just a question of improving your English, so that the test doesn't necessarily just reflect your proficiency skills, but also your ability to do that particular test. Whereas I think, other tests are maybe, without mentioning names, a little bit lighter on the test prep requirements. Where do you see the CELPIP in all of this, in that range?
Well, I mean, again, I mean, I'm always talking about real life experience and that it does reflect a lot of that, but you still need to prepare, at least have some idea as to what the test is about, what type of questions you're going to be asked, and obviously another class or another webinar altogether to go through the actual format of the test. But I feel that, somehow we're not meant to be like completely academic It's a general test, but it is reflecting what you're doing all the time on a daily basis. We are having these type of communications. And so if we are effectively communicating, then that's a reflection of the test. But at the same time, it is a test. And we do, people will get nervous and every person has their own reasons for taking the test. And so that also can influence your performance on the test day. But we want to make sure that we're giving you all the tools necessary, and it's as fair as possible. So we don't want to deflect on that. And because we follow a certain protocol, the protocol is the same globally. So if you're taking the test here in Toronto, you're taking it in London, for example, or you're taking it in Manila or not, you're following the exact same protocols. And so that's one of the benefits, that you will see the consistency. And I think that's important to point out.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I kind of wish it were a grammar class, because I would be talking so much about different strategies and
So it's not heavy on the extended listening, right?
no, no, not heavy. But well, I mean, just to give some idea for the listening section, it is more like North American accents. So you will notice that when you're listening in that section. So it's more North American accents. So if you're watching movies or American movies, that type of English, you'll hear what you're listening from me now is something very similar.
Just to put all of this into a broader perspective,
Mhm.
uh, are you able to tell us over the last few years what sort of level of growth you've seen in the uptake of this exam?
Well, there has been quite a bit. I mean, having the reliability and people noticing us now, because initially it was just a Canadian test, and now it's much more than that. And we can see the global growth that we've
Mhm.
had and the trust people have in us. And I think that's a reflection of all the work that we're doing. And as well as even when we're working with partners like yourselves, we want to make sure that our partners have a high standard as well. And we're always checking for that and making sure that everything is compliant, and we're doing what we
Right.
need to do, and we're working with the partners diligently. And so I feel that that has allowed us to expand more than what we initially anticipated. And I think even when I started about 7 years ago, we were just such a small test center. And we had maybe 80 at that time that we're accepting. Now we're far beyond 200, and it's still growing. So by the end of the year, I don't know how much we'll have, but
Well,
it has been expanding quite a
this
bit.
means you realize, obvious corny joke, but and I've said it before, you're going to have a problem, Anna, because at some point that C in the acronym CELPIP
Yeah.
is going to have to be something else.
Yes. And we've thought about that too. But as
Oh,
it
you have?
stands, it's yes.
Seriously?
Yeah. But as it stands, it's still CELPIP. And I think the same with any other ones that you already know, that you're familiar with. Many people don't know what the acronym stands for, but they just know it as such. And so the same CELPIP, people just know the word CELPIP basically, and not exactly what it stands for. But yeah, I mean, obviously there is an importance to the name as well, but CELPIP is now recognized as such, as just CELPIP.
Let's repeat it. Canadian English
English
Prof-
language. Yes,
Language Proficiency Index Program.
that's right. Very good. You passed the test.
Any other questions? I studied beforehand. Any other questions, anybody? We're up to the 45-minute mark. Well, I think we have a joker here with in the chat. I wonder who. Anyway, any other questions?
No, but it's been such a pleasure. I think these type of conversations are very important, and just to let people know where they can take these tests. how to prepare for these tests are so crucial because what they're doing is making a difference, making a change in their lives, going to these new countries and trying to make their lives there. And by helping them with these type of tests, we want to make sure that
Yeah.
their pathways is a little bit smoother. And so they have our support.
But as I said, it came onto our radar because of the uptake in London and Manchester. And so we wanted to find out a little bit more. And this is why we came up with the idea of hosting a webinar.
Yeah, and we're excited as well to be working with you and all our partners. I mean, this is important for us as well, and to be able to do something like this really means a lot to us as well. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank